Good morning. Welcome to another IDG. IDG is the Informal Discussion Group, a carry forward from our college days, St. Stephens College. And IDG in the digital platform is fast turning out to be a space to have and listen to meaningful conversations in this digital world of Tutu Meme. So it is 1 hour of meaningful conversations. Today we have with us our fellow Stephanian, Hemant Buch. When I first heard about Hemant and I found out that he's a director of live sports, my first question to him was, Hemant, how do you direct live sports? Isn't it called match fixing? And I am just thankful that he did not, cut the phone and disconnect the line. He explained to me, and as you will find out, how it is really possible to direct live sports. The only thing that I think director live sports and match fixers have in common is I think they make lots of money. Both of them make lots of money. So welcome, Hemant, and let's get started on the IDG. And before your professional career and before we start speaking about directing live sports, let's just solve that mystery. How did you lose 25 kgs in 1 month?
No, 3 months, but yeah, so it was the start of the pandemic and, things had been going south. There was no work. There were, lots of other issues. So it was tough. It was a period where there was a lot of soul searching and I was finding, sleep very hard to get as well. So I was watching, like most people were watching teleseries. I was on Game of Thrones and I was binge watching throughout the night. I wasn't sleeping days, actually, 3, 4, 5 days at a stretch. I was unable to sleep. And, I was at my parents' place and my mother, she walks about 10 kilometers, 8 to 10 kilometers every day. So she was at about 5 in the morning while I was still watching Game of Thrones. She was going out for a walk. So she said, why don't you come for a walk? And I said, no, I'm so tired. I mean, I can't really walk. I can't possibly walk. She said, no, just come and try. So it was, I remember the 1st of July, 2020. And yeah, I went out on a walk and I did about 3 kilometers and I said, it's too much. It was hot. It was humid. It was hot as it is now. And yeah, I came back. She finished her 10 kilometers, came back. Next day again, I went and I did about 2 or 3 kilometers. I did that for 3 days. And the 4th day, I said, okay, let's do 10,000 steps because that apparently is a holy grail. And I finished 10,000. I said, no, 10,000 doesn't seem enough. Let's do 10 kilometers. So which was about 12,000, 12,500 steps. So I did that. And since July the 4th, 2020, I haven't done less than I think 11 kilometers, more than 7 times. Since then. So it's about a year, and I've always walked at least 12 kilometers, every day. My usual average at one point was 25 a day, but that was just for a month. So yeah, I walked a lot, and that was all. And apart from that, I just cut down on carbs at night. I didn't have a solid meal after 7 p.m. And yeah, I just came back from a trip from Abu Dhabi, and my parents were saying that the entire colony is walking now, and they said, we watched your son lose weight, so we are all walking as well. So which is good to hear. A lot of people have started doing that because I never thought walking could be transformational. And yeah, it did turn out to be transformational. All I do is I make sure that I walk at a certain pace, and that's about it. It's nothing more. And when I'm stuck in quarantine, as I am these days in hotels, because I go for work and we live in biosecure bubbles, I try and walk or run. Walking takes a long time in a room because obviously it's a smaller space and it takes more time. So I run. So I run about 8 kilometers in the room and then walk, 2 or 3 more. In the end, it comes out to about 12 and a half overall.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
I think this is truly inspirational. But what pace do you walk at? I mean, how many kilometers an hour kind of a speed?
So it's I try and finish a kilometer under 9 minutes. Usually it's 8.5, but 9 minutes is fine. So 7 kilometers, 63 minutes. That's the sort of average. 1.5 hours, 10 kilometers. That's what I generally aim and do. Anything under that is good. Anything over that is bad.
Yeah, that's actually quite a brisk walk. I mean, under 10 kilometers is really a brisk walk. So so this is inspirational. So I guess maybe all of us are going to be inspired, and hopefully, if we are able to meet for our alum dinners sometime in January, all of us will be at least 10 or 15 kilograms lighter, and then we can all have a drink together to celebrate. But going back to your college days, you said that you were a total sports buff in your college
Yes.
days, which found not surprising because you said that your parents met on the badminton court, right? And
Yes.
you studied less in college and played more college colors and all of that. So, do tell us a little about your sporting endeavors at college.
So yeah, I mean, I played two sports. I played two sports for two different states. I played badminton for Gujarat when my father was posted there. Then when I came to Delhi, playing badminton was a lot tougher because there were not too many places where you could go and play. In Gujarat, in smaller towns, you had all these clubs. Here it was a lot tougher. You had to go to IG Stadium and find a practice partner. You had to find a coach and all of that. It was a lot tougher. So I gravitated towards table tennis as well. I mean, which I always used to play, but I played it more seriously. And I just entered a couple of tournaments and I made the semifinals, finals of them in the age group. So naturally started playing more of that. So in school, I was playing both these sports as well as a lot of cricket. When I entered college, I was playing both sports, so that wasn't a problem. So it was quite easy. I apart from the first year where I was made to study a little bit. After that, it was other than Dr. Baker's classes, it was all plain sailing. So I used to get there in the mornings and go straight to the JCR, play table tennis for an hour and a half. Come out, play some cricket on the basketball court, and then maybe perhaps attend a class, and then go out, have lunch, and then play badminton till 3:30. So that was it. When I reached home, I used to play cricket. So those were my sporting endeavors. I played for college in both badminton. I captained college badminton, table tennis, and I played for university in both of those sports, and we won the All India gold medals in both of those sports as well. So yeah, I had a reasonably successful sporting career, though I didn't work very hard at my game. I was always too lazy. So that was where, I mean, that was the maximum I think I could have achieved, and I did that.
Yeah, yeah. And then after graduation, instead of, looking at playing sports or doing something more physical and more active, you turned a sports journalist with the Pioneer.
Yes.
And after a short time, you left it to join the audiovisual world. So, why did you start as a sports journalist, and two, why did you leave? I mean, was it too boring? Was it too less physical? Was it not making enough money? Why?
So yeah, I did work in a bank for exactly one day. I couldn't. Yeah, I went there. I had to wear a tie, and I decided that was not for me. I so I that was an immediate out for me. And yeah, then I did the course in entrepreneurship at the IIT Delhi, and again that was I decided that was not for me either. And yeah, I then looked at journalism. I needed a way to be connected to sport. I decided that I didn't know what it would be because playing was going to be too tough. As I said, I was not hardworking enough to make it any further, I thought. And yeah, journalism seemed to be a viable alternative. I could write. So I'd never really written anything in anger until then. I had not written for a college magazine or anything else. But when I started writing, I got to know that I had a flair. So I wrote a couple of pieces, sent it to a few people, and then I got a call from the Pioneer, and I joined them. My first piece I remember was I was told to do a year ender, and that was the year Michael Jordan was retiring for the first time, '93. And I, being a big fan of Jordan's, I didn't know how to type at that point in time. So I went in and I went back. I wrote in my notebook, and then came back and then keyed it all in. Took me hours. I was told to write 250 words. The editor then had a look at it, and he called me in and said it was 1049 words, and so he was going to cut it down. And he looked at it for about hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and then called me back in. And he said, yeah, now it's 1054 because I had to add five, words that you'd missed out. Other than that, he said he'd let it go. So that was my start. That was my first article. And yeah, but the money, then I was earning 1700 rupees, after a year and a half. So that wasn't too much. And at the same time, the audiovisual world was coming up, and NDTV was a production house. There was a channel called BITV, which was just starting up, and it was, Raghav Bahl had just left it. It was a channel that was supposed to be making waves. So yeah, I mean, I got a call from both of them at the same time. I decided to join BITV because it was, I thought it was a place to go. It was a channel, not a production house. I didn't know whether it was the right decision in the end or not, but it started to show signs of wear and tear after about a year. And at the same time, we had another organization in the same building, one floor above us, named IMGTWI, and I got a call from there. Another Stephanian, Unmesh Parthasarthi. He was working there. He had been my junior in school and college, and he said, my boss is looking for somebody. Would you like to join? I said, why not? And I joined there, and then I moved from reporting to sports production, which was we're making shows for ESPN Star, for Doordarshan, for Z, for lots of different people. And yeah, I mean, the world opened out. We were covering, we were producing the live cricket for India as well. So we did some work around then. We were youngsters just looking at how things worked in that world. Chandradev Bhagat, whom you've talked to recently, he was part of that as well. So yeah, it was a nice little world, Stephanian world. Krishna Bose from St. Stephens College as well. So yeah, it was a comfort zone as well.
Yeah. So, that was actually the start of your passion with the audiovisual world. So you said you worked with BITV, then IMG, and then with 10 Sports. And then one day, apparently, you found yourself volunteering to direct an international live match. And I believe Tony Greig came up to you and said, have you directed any live sport, young man? And you looked at him calmly and said, no. So, I mean, how did you feel? Were you terrified? How did Tony Craig react?
Yeah, so that was quite interesting. I mean, I was producing live cricket. I'd done it for many years. Producing and directing are two different things. The producer sits up with the commentators, and he decides the flow of the broadcast. He talks to the commentators, tells them what's coming up and stuff like that. A director basically, sorry,
Comment.
somebody's talking.
Somebody, yeah. Can we request people to be on mute, please? Thank you. Yeah, carry on, Hemant.
Yeah, so so the director basically has control of all of the proceedings. He's the one who calls the shots. Basically, you call what shot is going on air next, which is, I think, the origin of the term calling the shots as well. So a director is more in control, but it's a lot more difficult because you're reacting to pictures, to commentary, to graphics, to all of those things together. Yeah.
Hemant, before we go into what directing is, because I have a lot of questions around that. But first, just tell us about Tony Greig and his modified reaction to.
So
he said, "I don't work with some Mickey Mouse productions or something like that."
So yeah. So basically, he obviously thought that direction was more of a in inverted commas white man's game. Because we only had a lot of white people coming and directing at that point in time, so he wasn't very confident, and he was he was a big shot then. So he did look at me and he said, first of all, tell me who's directing this. And I said, I am. And he said, I've never seen you direct cricket before. And I said, I have done a little bit, but I haven't done international cricket. So he said, I don't work on international, I don't work on Mickey Mouse Productions. And I said, Tony, just relax, we'll be okay. And he said, I'm not so confident. And we started, and when we started, his first comment was, I'm not going to help you at all. So if you make a mistake, I'm going to call your bosses and tell them what's happening. Again, that was obviously a lot of pressure. Tony Gregg putting you, under the spotlight. By tea time, he said, Hemant, you seem to be doing rather well at this gig, but don't get too overconfident. You can always mess up, and you remember what I'll do. So yeah, I said, Tony, I mean, it's gone so far, it's gone okay. I think it'll continue to be okay. So you relax, and we'll get together and do a good job. And yeah, I always had a sort of love-hate relationship with Tony Gregg, and I think it went back to that. He did respect me for what I did, but there was a little bit of a problem in that he liked to impose himself on people, and so if you back down, then he would dominate you, and that's the sort of stuff that happens with somebody like a Jeffrey Boycott as well. So yeah, I mean, you have to stand your ground with these people, and then they respect you.
Yeah. So Hemant, now then, what is it about directing live sports? What is it really like? You know, you have all these screens, etc. What is it really like? Give us a flavor of what is it like.
Well, directing live sport is quite difficult. If you haven't done it before, and it's you got about as far as cricket is concerned these days, you have a lot of cameras, you've got a lot of inputs coming in. So I have about 70 to 80 different pictures in front of me, different screens in front of me, and I curate it as it happens. I curate it live, yeah, I mean, the way it works is that you choose the best possible shot for that best possible moment, and you listen to the commentators, you feed them all the information of what is coming through, what stories are coming through. So you make different stories, either with graphics or with Hawkeye or just with pictures. You tell them what's coming up and then ask them to explain those things. You feed them all the information. Sometimes they ask for something and you embellish what they're saying with your pictures or your analysis of things. So that's how it generally works. So you cut together pictures as they happen. If the ball is going towards mid-wicket, you cut a certain camera. If it's going straight, you cut a certain camera. And all that is happening, as it basically happens. There are in live, there are no sort of comebacks. It's, what you do at that time. You can't redo anything. There are no retakes.
So do you actually, I mean, it's like a console, I understand. And somebody has to keep manually cutting from one camera to the other. So do you do that yourself, or do you have somebody so you like kind of bark out orders and somebody else implements? And is it like one person or 5 people? And how do you bark out orders? Just give us a sample, please.
Yeah, so there is a vision mixing desk. The desk these days is massive, again, because of the amount of inputs. Each, if you look at replays that come through, we call them replay wipes. So from the live picture into a replay, there is a wipe basically that tells you that you're going from live to a replay. And there are so many different replays. There are different replays for a 4, for a 6, for a wicket, for highlight. So there are buttons for everything. And these days for cricket, it's difficult for one person to be doing both jobs. It's also not ideal. So yes, there is a vision mixer sitting on the vision desk, and I call out the shot, and he cuts what I call. So whether it's a graphic, whether it's a replay, whether it's a camera, everything is cut by him to line, which you see back at home.
So you decide what we see on screen. So
correct. That's how it is.
When we see all these, the camera focusing on all these, gorgeous women, so that's you who's doing that, right?
Yes, I mean, it could be me. It could be me. These days, of course, you're not really supposed to be doing that. It's the ICC has very strong views about it, and so it's now more egalitarian. So if you're showing one shot of women, then you need to show one shot of men as well. So it's changing. It's things are it's even terms are changing. From batsmen, it has now been mandated that they be called batters. Third man is now being called third. So whether you agree with it or not, the lexicon of cricket is also changing with the time.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the time when I think it was Tony Gregg who used to go on and on about the earrings of women, and then the camera used to go and focus on various earrings that women in
That was Henry Blofeld.
Henry Blofeld.
Okay.
Henry Blofeld.
Yeah, see, I don't know too much
Yeah.
about it. I don't watch all that much, but I will. So just tell us, how do you give instructions? I mean, what we don't hear on or what we don't see on camera. So how would you tell, how would like 30 seconds be or a minute be?
Well, I mean that would include a lot of unparliamentary language as well. So I mean we'll let that pass. But I mean I will possibly post a sample if I can find where there is no unparliamentary language involved, and I might post it online. But yeah, it's basically cutting cameras. You'll be cutting from camera 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and then going back to standby. Standby blue. The replays are called by colors. So as not to confuse them with the numbers. Cameras are numbers, replays are colors. So it could be blue, green, yellow, black, and then back to camera 1. So that's how it is. And then graphics. There are two inputs of graphics or 3 inputs of graphics as well, and those are known by different names: Viz and Trio, and virtual. Now we have AR graphics as well, VR graphics, AR graphics. So yeah, we have drone cameras, buggy cameras, spider cams. So again, we sort of reinvent the event that I just did. We had 32 cameras at this, in the Pakistan Super League that I just finished. And those are the sort of numbers that we get for leagues like the PSL or the IPL, and then India cricket or England cricket. 32 to 35 cameras that we are cutting, plus, which means the number of replays also goes up. So there are 8 or 10 different colors of replays as well.
Yeah. So Hemant, you've directed many live sports. Cricket, football, hockey, table tennis, wrestling. I mean, wrestling, gosh. Anyway, but which is your favorite sport to direct?
Well, I mean, you can't get past cricket because, especially with Test cricket, you have time at your disposal. So whereas most sports are reactive, you react to what is happening. In Test cricket, you can be proactive. You can tell your own stories. You have the time to be able to tell a story. You can build up a story of your own. You can lead the audience. It can be a real storytelling experience. All other sports are just reacting to what is happening on the ground, more or less. Here you can tell, you can analyze, you can do a lot more than just sort of react to a goal or react to a moment in time.
Yeah. So focusing on cricket, since that seems to be the love of all our lives, you get a chance to work with cricketing heroes, people who we all consider as heroes, people that you may have considered as heroes. Have there been moments when you found out that your idols actually had feet of clay? And how did you react? How do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, everybody is human. As far as idols are concerned, yes, some of them have turned out to be real heroes. People like Ian Chappell, they are heroes in real life as well. At least they stand up for the underdog a lot, which I consider to be quite a big deal as far as commentators are concerned. Yes, I mean there are a few people who are a little bit more unsavory. They're a little bit different from their on-screen persona. I mean, it's I wouldn't like to sort of name and shame them because it's not really where I want to go. But yes, I would like to talk about people who are good, who have done good for those around them. People, I mean, again, like I said, Ian Chappell, he on a few occasions he has sort of reaffirmed the fact that he is a special human being. I mean, in Sri Lanka, where the crew, for example, decided to throw a party, he said, it was a local Sri Lankan crew, and it was quite a big party. And he came up to me and he said, "Oh, who's paying for all of this? This is pretty nice." And I said, "The local crew is." And he said, "Why are they paying? They don't earn as much as we do." So I said, they just wanted us to, you know, we are the guests and they are the hosts, and they wanted us to feel special. And he said, "Okay, here's $500 from my side, what I can do, and I'd like to pay for some of this at least." And I paid for a lot of it, and he didn't want anybody to know as well. He just put it in my hand and he said, "Away you go, and just make sure that's taken care of." And that's the sort of little things that I believe show why he was such a great leader and why people would walk the ends of the earth for him.
Yeah. And then there's another story about how he loves to play tennis, I think, is it, after every
Yes.
match, and how you needed somebody to interview. Can you tell us that? And also, why do you call him Chappelli? I've heard you talk of Ian Chappell and you call him Chappelli. Why?
Well, that's his nickname. In Australia, everyone has a nickname. His autobiography is also called Chappelli. So he was always known as Chappelli from his playing days onwards. Um, yeah, I mean he was a very keen tennis player. He used to be a golfer, but he got so obsessed with it that it started affecting him. So he gave up golf and started playing tennis. And in Sri Lanka, I would often see from the corner of my room, I could see half the tennis court, and I would see Chappelli serving, and then he would disappear, and then after a while again I would see him serving, and then I went to the courts and I saw he was serving alone. There was nobody to play with him, but he just used to serve, go back to the other side, serve from the other side, go back again. But this story that I'm talking to you about is from the SSC in Sri Lanka, and you know he, in Sri Lanka, it gets dark by about 6:15, and Chappelli always used to carry his tennis gear with him when he would come and commentate, because he would then go to the courts that were just at the back of the commentary box and play a set or two. So uh, this day the match was running late, as it often does, and I had an interview to do at the end, and I was looking around for somebody, and you know Chappelli was around at the back, and he saw me looking around. He said, "What are you looking for?" I said, "I just needed somebody to do an interview." And he said, "Yeah, I'm around." I said, "No, but you need to go and play tennis. It's getting dark." And he said, "No, mate, I'm here. You're the boss. I'm here to commentate, not to play tennis. I get paid to commentate, and you just tell me what I need to do, and I'll go and do it." And I felt really guilty because here's this man who was so keen. There are other people as well around the commentary box, and everybody used to try and go back home or to the hotel, and would grumble if they had to do any extra work. And here was this man who was a veteran of the game, was one man who never shirked work, and he would go and stand in the sun for as long as you wanted. He would do his homework and be there and make sure that the job got done. And then there were all these young commentators from subcontinent who would say, "We're not going out to the sun. We're going to get sunburned, and you tell us the questions, or you just tell me the questions in my ear, and I'll ask them. I don't need to work at it." So yeah, I mean, those people, Tony Gregg, Ian Chappell, these guys showed you the value of hard work, of how much homework they did before they went out and sort of did their job. Tony Gregg too used to do a lot of hard work. He used to try and pronounce, when he used to do presentations, he used to pronounce everyone's name at least 10 to 15 times in the presentation part. He still used to go and mess it up, but he would practice very hard before he messed it up. So it was, yeah, I mean, you see how hard they worked, and you compare it with some of the other people, and you feel disappointed that they, just because they're cricketers, they think it is theirs by right and they take it for granted.
Yeah. So, before we come to the Indian cricketers and the Indian cricketing heroes, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of stories. I hope you have a lot of stories about them. But when you're talking about, people like Ian Chappell preparing hard for their work, your work also requires a lot of focus. So, how do you prepare for your work? And again, keeping to cricket, do you need a different kind of a preparation for, say, a T20 and ODI and then a test cricket? And again, I assume that eyes are among the most important part of your body when you're directing. How do you make sure that your eyes get enough exercise?
Well, yeah, preparation itself is basically you go through a lot of stats, especially for a test match. You go through stats, you talk to people, and you find out the stories that need to be told, the stories that might develop through the days. Uh, if there has been a case, batsman has been getting out in particular ways, then you find the story there, you find the footage there, and you make sure it's ready when the batsman comes onto the crease, or if he does the same thing again. There's a lot of analysis. There is a lot of storytelling involved there. For T20s, it's I mean, I just did possibly the toughest event of my life, because this was non-stop. There was a limited window to finish this particular event, and because it's so hot in the UAE right now, the matches would start only at 5 p.m. The first match would start at 5 p.m. and there were two matches in a day, so the second match would start at 2 p.m. Sorry, 10 p.m. and only about 2:30 a.m. So constantly doing that over 15 days without any break was quite tough. So the only preparation there is to try and stay fresh. I these days I try and exercise as well. So whatever happens, I try and get in my 10 to 12 kilometers. I did miss 2 days there because it was really tough. So those were 2 of the 7 days that I haven't done my 12K. But yeah, I mean it's pretty tough during these sort of T20s. The IPL, for example, is a lot easier because there are 4 different crews, and so you get one game in 3 or 4 days. Here you're getting 2 games a day, so and every day. That's a lot tougher. It's very physically demanding, as you say. It's tough on the eyes, and I find that it's really tough on the neck because you keep looking up, and all of this area, there is you get stress knots in your neck because you're constantly looking on the screens throughout. Your eyes are moving, your neck is moving, and you're looking up as well a lot. So yeah, I mean those are issues. You need to be physically fit, and that's one of the reasons as well. It is generally a sedentary job. So I used to sit and do it. Now I stand. I keep moving while I direct. It's not easy because you got a headset. You can't move too much, but I try and stand rather than just sit. So yeah, I mean you do what you can to stay fit. As far as prep is concerned, it's basically largely in test matches, perhaps in ODIs as well. If you're doing other sports like badminton, for example, then again there is a little bit of prep involved. Who's done what, but again that's largely more for producers because you're reacting in other sports. In cricket, like I told you, you can tell a story. In other sports, you really can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Now let's come to the Indian cricketing heroes. You've worked with a whole lot of them. Uh, I mean, besides the interesting stories that I hope you will share with us, you also end up playing, say, table tennis with Tendulkar, or badminton with Dhoni and Sehwag, or how is this informal interaction with all the cricketing heroes, and what does it get? What does it tell you about them? What more does it tell you about them?
So I'll tell you this. I mean, things have changed a lot from the earlier times. You had a lot more access to cricketers. Right now, these days, there is a big wall around, especially our cricketers. The other cricketers are not so bad, but or not so separated from the real world, shall we say? Our cricketers are a lot more protected, are a lot more difficult to get to. So these days, to sort of find interactions with them is a little more difficult than it used to be. The likes of Kumble, Tendulkar, Lakshman, Dravid, all of those guys, Srinath, those guys, those were the times where we used to be also doing a lot of domestic cricket, so we knew them a little bit better than we do now. Dhoni, of course, was a very relaxed character, so and he always used to look at. He never practiced cricket very much. He was not a great believer in nets and all of that. He preferred to go out and play other sports. So he used to play a lot of badminton. And yeah, I mean, I sort of when we were playing badminton, he came in and decided that he wanted to play with us. And, he and Sehwag played against us, and we were obviously a lot better than them. So then he decided to split up. So he was my partner, and Sehwag played with the other gentlemen. So yeah, I mean, those sort of things do happen. They used to happen a lot more than they do now. Obviously, the interactions are limited, tours are shorter. People, cricketers have more demands upon their time than they used to. So that's that is a little bit of an issue. If you go out, for example, to the West Indies, their cricketers are pretty much chilled out. You could find them, out on the streets, perhaps celebrating or having fun with the locals, or in the pub, or even dancing in the middle of the road. Like I saw Chris Gale one of the days, and he just said, "Yeah, don't put a video of mine on air. Other than that, everything is fair game. Don't worry." So that's about it. So I mean, I can understand, our press as well, how things are perceived. So I think cricketers tend to want to put a distance between, the press and them, and they don't like to see their, private lives being exposed as much as cricketers in other parts of the world are. So that's there. But yeah, I mean, all of these cricketers, whether it's Dhoni, whether it is Jadeja, whether it is before them people like Lakshman or Dravid or whoever, they are, once you get to know them, they are a much nicer bunch than you imagine them to be just from television.
Yeah. So you do say that the Indian cricketers are, have kind of built a wall around them, but then you get to travel with them across the world as well. So even overseas, are the Indian cricketers more, recognized and more in demand, so to say, by the average people on the road, or bahar jaake, they can do easily, they can walk on the road and not get mobbed?
No, Indians are everywhere. So it's a little bit more difficult for our cricketers to be able to get away unscathed. Perhaps in countries like New Zealand, where the population itself is not very much, it might be easier. There are, if you go into the West Indies, again, the population is much smaller, so perhaps they could get away. But I mean, it's not like any other cricketer. I know, I had a former Pakistan captain, and at that time he was a Pakistan Test captain. Azhar Ali, he was in India. He was working with us on a particular show, and he wanted to shop. So I said, I can take you to a mall, but then people will recognize you and we'll have a problem. And he said, no, nobody recognized me. So sure enough, we went to the Saket Mall, and not one person recognized him. And yeah, I mean, we went out and shopped as much as possible, and he said, see, I told you, nobody will recognize me. So that's what it is. And I took Misbah ul Haq and a couple of other people to Humayun's tomb, and nobody recognized them either. And we sort of did our stuff. Only towards the end, did people sort of finally recognize them. And then we had a big mob, and the ASI came out. The guy, I thought we'd be in trouble because we hadn't told them that we'd taken Pakistanis inside. There's a different ticket for them. but he was okay with that. He just wanted a few photos, and that was it. But yeah, I mean, it's if I were to take, even say a Murli Karthik or somebody to any one of these places, he would have been mobbed. But other cricketers are not so well recognized, even in other parts of the world. I mean, they're not as mobbed as our guys are. It's and also the access to our guys is a lot more difficult. The other people, crowds can get close to them. Our guys, they find it a little bit more intimidating to get close to them.
So, from what you're saying, I think the stature of the Indian cricketers has changed over the last 20 years. How do the other cricketers of other countries react to this change of stature? Because the Indians are now clearly the heroes of the cricketing world around. So, is there not jealousy, but is there envy? How do the other cricketers deal with this, where the brown skin guys are the ones who are most in demand?
I don't know about heroes, but they're definitely the most well paid. So that's obviously there is this.
Because of connectivity. So yeah, so we were talking about the cricketers, and you said that they make the most amount of money among all the cricketers in the world. So that's a change. Yeah. So tell us more about this.
Well, yeah. So our cricketers now tend to be the richest in the world. So obviously there is a little bit of an issue there. They are not able to go out and play in the rest of the world as well. So they're marquee property. They're not allowed to play until they retire. So they can't play any other leagues and stuff. So yes, they're sort of being made to be a rare commodity, which is why they're getting a lot more money as well. India obviously gets the largest sponsorships as well for the ICC. So yeah, I mean we've got the tables have turned from the time Mr. Dalmia sort of got up and changed the world of cricket. So obviously, I mean, there is a little bit of a feeling, and which is why people around the world love it when India loses. India are now, the superpower that everybody loves to hate as well. But that obviously goes with the territory. If you're richer, if you're stronger, and if you're a bit of a bully, then everybody else will try and sort of hate you as well. So, I mean, yes. Having said that, I think we should be doing a little bit more for the world of cricket, and that's not for the cricketers, but it's more for the BCCI. Where we sort of look at our own pocket, we do a disservice to the game also a little bit, and I understand why the jealousy comes in.
Yeah. So talking of bullies, as a layperson, I think the Australians come to mind because of all their sledging. You as the director, do you have the control to let the viewers hear the sledging, or to let the viewers not hear the sledging? And can you tell us a little more about how sledging would have changed over the last 10-15 years, and if you can share some examples of how the Indian cricketers now give it back to the sledgers?
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously sledging used to be, the Australians were the past masters of sledging. We have had so many different, everybody on this group would know of, how the Australians are past masters at it. And then they, whenever somebody gave it back to them, they used to point to this imaginary line. They said, "We don't cross the line, but you're crossing the line." So every time somebody gave it back to them, the line would be crossed. There was this case of Glenn McGrath, abusing, I think it was Ramnaresh Sarwan, and then Sarwan said something back, then McGrath felt really bad because apparently Sarwan had crossed the line, and McGrath hadn't, because the line is something that they carried around in their pocket. Now things have changed. You know, I think our cricketers are as good or as bad at giving it to the opposition. And yeah, the question you had asked was whether I have the ability to let others hear what they're saying or not. Yes, we have control of the stump mics. We can turn them up or down. And generally, after a ball is bowled, the conventional wisdom was that we had to turn the stump mic down so people would not be able to hear what was going on, and you know, the cricketers could say what they like. These days, I think stump mics are a lot more in demand, and we keep them open a lot more than we used to. So we get to hear a lot more. Sledges have changed as a consequence. So from abuse, they have now turned more towards banter, which is, I think, a good thing. We had, you know, recently I was doing a series, Sri Lanka versus England, and the wicketkeeper was, you know, he was sledging Johnny Bairstow from England, and he was like, oh, this guy, he's been dropped from the India tour, but he'll go and play the IPL. He'll make a lot of money there. He's only playing for the money. So yeah, if you're playing for the money, why do you want to play Test cricket? You know, that sort of stuff. And then Joe Root came on to bat. He had just scored a double century. So he says, you got a really good bat. The only reason you're scoring runs is because of the bat. Why don't you give me your bat and see how many runs you score? So there's stuff like that. So it's funny, you know, and you know, nobody can take offense to that. Obviously, abuses still go on. Stuff just leaks through the mic, and then you will find commentators apologizing. Sometimes they'll say, you know, you heard something on screen, and you know, which you should not have. So apologies. But yeah, I mean, that's the nature of the game. Unfortunately, I would rather that there be no abuse, and we keep the stump mics on throughout, because it lends a lot more atmosphere. You know, a lot of people say that they prefer to listen just to stump mics than to commentary. So, I mean, that's what I would as well, because I think, you know, it allows you to get closer to the cricketers and see what is really happening.
So tell me, does the Indian team kind of, you know, when they're in a huddle or when they're preparing, do they also sit down and prepare for sledging? I mean, they tell each other, ki ye bolo, and the second question is, in all your experience, who do you find the most elegant sledger?
I don't think that you need to prepare. I don't think Virat Kohli needs to prepare to sledge. I think it comes naturally to him. But yeah, I mean, there are a few people, you know, possibly their English isn't as good, so guys might coach them on what to say to the opposition. That happens. But yeah, I mean, most guys these days are ready-made sledgers. So as far as elegant sledging goes, I mean, there are you know, a lot of different documented sledges. There's this Steve Waugh sledge where he apparently said to Herschel Gibbs that you dropped the World Cup when he sort of dropped the catch, which I'm told is not really true. I don't think he said it. Now he says it's close to the truth, so let it be, you know, let it be a good story. So, but I think these days, you know, people like Rishabh Pant, the wicket keepers, I think are the best sledgers. Also, we hear them the most because they are closest to the stump mic. So Niroshan Dikwela from Sri Lanka, Rishabh Pant from India, Tim Payne as well from Australia. I mean, they sledge a lot, and they sledge well. They do not, you know, generally become abusive as well. So it works. I mean, the English wicket keepers, you know, Josh Butler is a lot more quiet. The others, they don't say as much. Quinton de Kock doesn't really say as much. So, I mean, these three, I think, are possibly the best sledgers of the day.
Yeah. So, you know, sledging and all of it, you hear only when you're when you're watching it on TV. And I've heard you say that cricket is a sport best watched, I mean, on television. You know, you wouldn't want to watch it live. And I kind of empathize with it, because I remember I went for this IPL match at CCI. and somebody got out, and I instinctively looked for a replay because I wanted to know how this guy got out, and I kind of felt cheated that I couldn't see the replay. I couldn't find out how, it happened. So while I understand why, but I want you to tell us why you think that cricket is a sport meant for television.
Well, I mean, not just television. For me, I'm spoiled because I can see what I want to see, which is possibly the best thing. When I look at other people's broadcasts, I sometimes get frustrated because I think another angle would have been better, and that is never shown. So I can see what I want to see. It's like my own personal broadcast. So that's why, I mean, I like to go to a game, but sit in my little control room and watch everything. So yeah, I mean, it is. I just saw Manisha's question was the sledging majorly in English. Yes, largely because you want the opposition to understand. India and Pakistan don't play so often. So otherwise, the sledging would largely be in Hindi or Punjabi. But sledging is pointless if the opposition does not know what you're saying. So I think that's why it's largely in English as well.
Yeah. So, we are coming to the end of the hour, and I know that a lot of people have a lot of questions. So I'm going to wind up this formal part of the in the conversation, and then we'll go to the questions that everybody has for you. So Hemant, thank you very much. This has been very insightful, very interesting. And my only request is that the next time you're directing cricket, please keep the stump mic on at the loudest. We would love to hear what these people are saying. So thank you.
Yeah.